Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here today. My name is Ava Atari, and I'm with the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, or LEO. Today, I'm joined by my colleagues at the Michigan Association for the Education of Young Children and Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. We'll be talking today about two scholarship programs here in Michigan that can benefit professionals in the early childhood education space and licensing requirements for program directors and lead caregiver qualifications. Before we begin today's presentation, I just wanted to quickly note that this webinar is being recorded and will be shared afterwards. If you have any questions along the way, please feel free to use the Q&A function in the chat, and we'll reserve some time for questions and answers at the end. And to get us started, I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Kelsey.
Thanks, Ava. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelsey Laird. I am the Director of Professional Programs at Michigan Association for the Education of Young Children. Next slide, please. Probably one more slide, please. So it looks like we need to advance into the Teach Early Childhood Michigan slide. Thanks for your patience. There we go. All right. So as I mentioned, my name is Kelsey Laird. I serve as the Teach Program Director, as well as the Director of Professional Programs at Michigan AEYC. T.E.A.C.H is currently housed and administered by the Michigan Association for the Education of Young Children, and we've been here in Michigan for 20 years, providing scholarship assistance to early childhood education professionals. We do hold a license to be able to operate the program from our T.E.A.C.H National Center, and Michigan is one of 26 states permitted to offer the T.E.A.C.H Scholarship Program. Our annual allocation is $5 million, and we use that to support professionals earning a CDA, associate's degree, or bachelor's degree in early childhood education. We do currently have some folks on a master's degree scholarship as well. The goals of the program, so the scholarship model was designed to increase the education and qualification of providers in the field, improve the quality of care, and increase wages overall while still reducing turnover, which we know is a constant issue in the field of early childhood education. And we know that keeping teachers within their programs and with their group of children is what's developmentally appropriate practice for that young group of kids. So our traditional scholarship model serves as a collaborative effort between the employer, the scholarship recipient, and the T.E.A.C.H scholarship. The way it works is we receive our funding, which is awarded to us and administered by the Michigan Department of Education. And with that, we award tuition scholarships for providers directly to their school, so to their community college or university, to pay their tuition up front for them. But there's still an employer contribution and a recipient contribution as well. So I'll kind of explain a little bit of the breakdown of each of those pieces as we go here. But I wanted to note that the scholarship is collaborative and requires buy-in from both the employer, the recipient, and then financial support from T.E.A.C.H. So T.E.A.C.H also provides additional support outside of just tuition support. There are opportunities for paid release time, bonuses for completing courses, assistance with book costs, participation stipends, and then incentives for star-rated programs and employees. So all of these are kind of wraparound support pieces in addition to tuition, and the goal of some of these pieces, especially in the compensation for completing courses each year, is to continually increase the wages of those participating across the field. We know that most of our recipients are non-traditional students, and they're working full-time in childcare programs. And so having paid time away from work in order to attend school or courses is important for them as well. So we'll reimburse the program time that they have paid them to be away from their traditional work schedule in order to attend class or to study, perhaps for like a day off for finals. We work with the center and the recipient to schedule that and then reimburse them so that the actual program doesn't have an outside cost to be able to provide that support for them. We also reimburse for books each semester. So students just submit their receipts to us and we reimburse them for 90% of their book costs for all required books. The participation stipends that we provide along the way are ways that we try to reduce any portion that the scholarship recipient would incur. So like I mentioned on our traditional scholarship model, the recipient is still responsible for a portion of tuition, which is 10%. We award additional incentives, including $100 a semester student access stipend, and then $150 semester stipend for those working in star-rated programs to help reduce that cost. And what we find is that most times for our students that are seeking associate's degree or CDA training, that all of those stipends combined and book reimbursements end up awarding that recipient typically a check back each semester instead of having an invoice to the program. The T.E.A.C.H scholarship is stackable. So we'll talk a lot next about how that works in stacking the scholarship with Michigan Reconnect. Other scholarships and opportunities that it is stackable with include a Pell Grant, student loans, of course, and Michigan outside scholarships, as well as Michigan Reconnect. So stacking with Reconnect works pretty simply, and it's not a lot of extra effort on the student's end. Basically, you apply for both scholarship programs, and T.E.A.C.H can help provide all the scholarship supports that we typically provide after Michigan Reconnect has paid your eligible in-district tuition portion. So I'm sure Ava will provide a little bit more of the detail about exactly how Michigan Reconnect pays that tuition, but T.E.A.C.H will be able to pick up any of the additional fees that you might incur so that you don't end up with any bill or invoice on your semester for your courses. An important thing to note is that the T.E.A.C.H scholarship covers a maximum of 6 credit hours each semester, and Michigan Reconnect requires you to take a minimum of 6 credit hours for at least 2 semesters in a row each academic year. So what that means is that if you're interested in taking more than 6 credits, this is a really good way for you to be able to do that, because the T.E.A.C.H scholarship alone would not cover any more than 6. If you stack Michigan Reconnect with T.E.A.C.H, you're going to be eligible to have all of your in-district tuition for unlimited credits covered by Michigan Reconnect, and then any of those extra fees for each of the courses would be picked up by T.E.A.C H, and then you'd still be awarded all of your additional stipends, paid release time, book costs, and bonuses. So another important piece of the stacking the two together is that T.E.A.C H can provide the scholarship support continually. So if you don't meet some of the Michigan Reconnect requirements for continuation of that scholarship, and for whatever reason that scholarship is dropped, then T.E.A.C H will continue to cover your regular up to 6 credit hours per semester tuition. Next slide, please. So to break it down in an example form, because there's a lot of detail about both of these that I'm sure you'll have questions about how it would look or it might work for your individual scenario. For example, if a scholarship recipient, if a student were to enroll in 9 credit hours at a participating community college working toward their associate degree, the in-district tuition rate, this is just a made-up number, but happens to be $100 a credit hour. And the student lives out of district, meaning that their credit dollar per credit hour amount is going to be a little bit higher. Say that's $120. So Michigan Reconnect is going to cover that in-district tuition rate for you for the full 9 credit hours. So that's $900 in tuition plus all the mandatory fees. But after that's applied, the student might still end up with a bill of about $180, knowing that they have that out-of-district tuition. So what T.E.A.C H will do is pay that remaining balance on the student's bill, reimburse for any books that the student purchased after they submit their receipts, award the $100 student access stipend, award $150 star rating stipend if the program is star rated, reimburse the employer for any paid release time if they're eligible for that. And then at the end of their TEACH contract, which is 3 semesters, they would award the $300 bonus for completion of at least 9 credit hours over 3 semesters. So, and then I note there on the bottom that if the student finds they need to drop below that required number of credit hours for my Reconnect, the TEACH scholarship will pick that up and continue to cover the maximum of 6 credit hours per semester. Next slide. That was a pretty quick and general overview, but I do want to mention that we're going to have time for Q&A at the end, but I also wanted to point out that we do have our program specialists at Michigan AEYC available for anyone to call and ask questions about the TEACH scholarship, how TEACH works with Michigan Reconnect, assist with locating a community college that might meet your needs. So you can just email us, you can use our website with an online chat feature, or give us a call at any time. And so with that, I'm going to kick it back over to my colleague, Ava, and she'll provide a little bit more information for you about Michigan Reconnect specifically.
Thanks so much, Kelsey. Hello, everyone. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Ava Tari. I'm the program administrator for the Office of 60 by 30 within the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, or LEO, and I'll be giving an overview of the Michigan Reconnect Scholarship Program today. Next. So our Office of 60 by 30 focuses on administering programs like Michigan Reconnect and supporting policies that will help our state meet its post-secondary attainment goal, which is 60% of working age adults in Michigan with a post-secondary degree by 2030 that Governor Whitmer set in 2019 during her first State of the State address. Many jobs today require education and skills beyond a high school diploma or its equivalent, whether it's with a degree or a certification. And programs like Michigan Reconnect and the TEACH scholarship can help Michiganders achieve their educational career goals and access better jobs and higher wages. Next slide, please. So what is Michigan Reconnect exactly? I'll be going through this in a little bit more detail over the next few slides, but in summary, it's a new state scholarship program that was launched in February of this year. It focuses primarily on Michigan's adult learners, so individuals who are 25 or older, to pursue a Pell-eligible associate degree or skill certificate at any of Michigan's public community or tribal colleges, and offers free or discounted tuition depending on which institution you attend. I'll talk a little bit more about that soon. We have a website for our scholarship program, and I'll be going through some of the important pages of the website with you, but I've linked it here at the bottom of the slide. Next. So there are 4 criteria to know for the Michigan Reconnect program that an individual must meet in order to apply and then be accepted into the scholarship program. So if you are at least 25 years old, have been a Michigan resident for at least a year, have a high school diploma or its equivalent, for example, a GED, and have not yet earned a college degree, an associate degree or higher, we encourage you to apply for Michigan Reconnect if this is what you've been looking for. Next. So the scholarship can be utilized at any of Michigan's 28 public community colleges or 3 tribal colleges. The scholarship covers in-district tuition, mandatory fees, and contact hours after other federal or state funding for which you might qualify. I mentioned in district here. What that means is if you live within a community college district or meet the definition for being considered in district by your college, you'll be charged by the college at an in-district tuition rate. If you qualify for other federal or state funding, that will be applied first, and then Michigan Reconnect will be applied after. If you don't qualify for other federal or state funding, Michigan Reconnect will cover the full in-district tuition rate. If you do not live within a community college district, or if you don't meet the college's definition for being considered in district, you will be charged by the college at an out-of-district tuition rate. And Michigan Reconnect will still pay up to the in-district tuition rate of where you're attending, but there will be a cost difference between the in-district tuition rate and the out-of-district tuition rate that you may be required to pay out of pocket for unless you qualify for other aid that can cover the difference. And I know Kelsey was talking a little bit about this earlier. So I put 2 links here for pages to our Michigan Reconnect website. The list of colleges page, which is linked here and also pictured here on the slide, provides a list of all the colleges which accept Michigan Reconnect, the 31 that I mentioned. It also has some information about each of the colleges in district definitions and has contact information for each college listed so that you can reach out to them about whether you're considered in district or not by the college and learn a little bit more about what your costs might be if you attend. And then related to that, the second link is called Calculating Your Costs. And it has more detailed information about what costs the scholarship covers, but also what it doesn't cover: program fees, course fees, books. There are other costs outside of tuition that you'll want to think about as well. Next. So if you're interested in participating in the scholarship program, there are a few steps you'll need to take to get started. The first is to apply for the scholarship program itself, and you can do this by going to the website michigan.gov/reconnect, and then click on community college. Next. So you'll see that arrow is pointing to the community college tab on the website, and then you'll want to click apply today. Next. And then the application can be done on your phone or on a computer. If you're having any technical issues while you're completing the application, the customer care center phone number, which is on our website, you can reach out to them and they can assist you with applying over the phone or assist you with any technical issues you might be having with the application itself. So the application, it takes about 5 minutes to complete. It does not require any documents while you're completing the application itself. Part of the application does require creating a username and password for the Department of Treasury's student portal system. This is the system that allows you to check your application status online. It's also how the college can identify you as a Reconnect applicant and request your scholarship award from the state. So the scholarship is a reimbursement. So the college will request the amount that you qualify for, and then that amount will be removed from your college bill. And then if you meet the criteria of the program, you'll be able to successfully submit the scholarship application. And at the end, you'll see a screen that will confirm your application's been accepted. And it will also outline the next steps that you have to do, which Kamara's listing here. The first is apply and be admitted to public, community, or tribal college. The second is submit a federal application, federal aid application, or a FAFSA. And then the last one is to enroll in a minimum of 6 credits towards your program of study, whichever Pell eligible associate degree or skills certificate you plan to pursue. And the one thing I wanted to note before we move on to the next slide is if you're already enrolled in school now and want to utilize the scholarship, you absolutely can. Next slide. So there are a few other pages that I wanted to point out on the Michigan Reconnect website. The first is if you want to learn more about the scholarship program, we have a frequently asked questions page, which covers a wide range of topics from funding to eligibility and next steps as well. Next. We also have a page dedicated to veterans and service members to provide information about additional federal resources, on-campus support, or Michigan-specific scholarships. Next, we also have a college checklist, which provides some additional information and resources for completing those 3 steps that I mentioned: applying to school, submitting your FAFSA, enrolling in classes. And each of these drop-down menus here have information below them that can help you along the way. Next. But the most important thing I also wanted to share with you, about 10 to 15 business days after you submit your scholarship application and it's accepted, a navigator from our office will reach out to you to offer their services and support. And each navigator is assigned to a region and to the college or colleges within that region. And then they are assigned to a Reconnect applicant based on where you indicate you plan to enroll when you are submitting your Reconnect scholarship application. So even if you're not sure where you plan to attend, or if you change your mind about where you want to enroll, we'll still connect you with a navigator. It's not mandatory to work with one, but we know that the college going process can be a lot to take on when you're already working, have a full life, and or if it's just been a long time since you've been going back to school and want some additional support in that way. So navigators can help you with your next required steps with the scholarship, the 3 that I outlined, but then also with going to college itself, completing the FAFSA, exploring degree programs, identifying in-demand jobs, and also with connecting you to other services within the state and your community to help you care for the other things that you have going on in your life: childcare, transportation, additional financial aid. If you need electronics, many other types of support. Our navigators kind of do a little bit of everything. And they work really closely with the college or colleges that they're assigned, and with the local Michigan Works agencies and other state and local partners to help you, quickly get set up for success. Next slide. Awesome. So once you've completed all the steps required to participate in the scholarship and you've started your first semester, there are some requirements you'll want to keep in mind in order to maintain the award. So you'll need to continue to be a Michigan resident. You'll need to submit your FAFSA, your free application for federal student aid, every year. You'll need to be continuously enrolled, and what that means is enrolled at least half time for a minimum of 2 semesters within a 12-month period. And then you'll need to maintain a cumulative 2.0 GPA in the courses towards your program of study by the end of each 12-month period. So as long as you meet these 4 requirements, you can maintain the award until at least 4 years have passed since you first started participating with the scholarship, or you've earned an associate degree, whichever comes first. Next slide. So to recap, in sum, why should you apply to Michigan Reconnect? In 5 minutes or less, you can know if you are eligible for free or discounted tuition. It covers more than 6 credit hours a semester. It's a blank slate program. And by that, I mean, while there is a minimum GPA requirement, as I noted in my last slide, while you're a Michigan Reconnect participant, it does not include your GPA before you became a Michigan Reconnect participant. It will cover repeated courses. So if you aren't doing great in a class and you fail it while using Michigan Reconnect, the scholarship will continue to cover it until you pass the class, and then one more time after that. Our navigators are here to help. They hold a wealth of knowledge and expertise about how to navigate the process of going back to school, just so that you don't have to do it all alone. And lastly, by using Michigan Reconnect and the T.E.A.C.H scholarship, you'll be making a difference for yourself and for others as well. So I'm happy to take questions at the end. I know you guys are still adding them to the Q&A, which is great. And I'll definitely talk more about Michigan Reconnect if you have questions about it. But for now, I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Erica Bigelow.
Hello, everyone. I'm Erica Bigelow, a Division Director at the Child Care Licensing Bureau. I'm going to provide a brief overview of the requirements for child care program directors and lead caregivers. Okay. In child care licensing, the position of program director and lead caregiver have specific educational requirements, and these requirements are set in the administrative rule sets for child care centers, not in statute. Next slide, please. Child care licensing believes that the program director plays an important role in the functioning of the center. The program director is responsible for ensuring that the well-being of the children is met, the parents have confidence in the staff and programming, the staff are meeting the developmental, social, physical, emotional needs of children through such things as various programming and interactions with children, and also that the business needs of the center are being met, such as through maintaining staffing plans, room ratios, and providing staff development and training. All program directors must meet these following requirements. They must be at least 21 years of age, have a high school diploma or GED, the education and work experience that is approved by the Licensing Bureau. And it is important to note that the education must also include 2 semester hours or 3 CEUs in childcare administration, or have an administrative credential that is approved by the department. Next slide, please. The early childhood program director means the program director of a center serving children of all ages, infant through school age. The educational qualifications for an early childhood program director are shown here. Next slide. The school age program director is a program director of a center serving only school age children. And the educational qualifications for a school age program director are shown here. Next slide. A lead caregiver is required for groups of children who are preschool age or younger. It is required that there is 1 lead caregiver to each group of children in a self-contained room or a well-defined space. Lead caregivers have greater knowledge of the needs of children, so are able to respond more appropriately to the needs of those children for whom they're responsible. The lead caregiver also knows the individual strengths and weaknesses of the staff working in the room and the overall functioning of the room or group. The rule requirements for a lead caregiver are as follows. They must be at least 19 years of age, have a high school diploma or GED, and the education or work experience is approved by the Licensing Bureau. It is also important to note here that the lead caregivers for infants and toddlers must have 3 semester hours, 4.5 CEUs, or 45 hours of My Registry approved infant and toddler development and care practices within 6 months of hire. Next slide, please. The educational requirements for a lead caregiver are shown here. And last slide, please. And please feel free to share your feedback and experience with this process. If you have gone through it, we would like to hear your feedback. And now I'm going to send it back to Ava.
Thanks, Erica. At this point, I already see a bunch of questions in the Q&A function. I do see some in the chat as well. If you have questions for us, please put them in the Q&A, and we can start taking those questions now.
Thanks, Ava. So I'm gonna try and divvy up these questions based on who I think they go to. The first question we have, I believe this would be for Kelsey. Are scholarships available for a PhD in early childhood, etc.?
Sure. So at this time, TEACH scholarships are only available for CDA assessment and training, associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, and existing master's degree scholarship recipients. We do not offer a PhD scholarship. I can probably answer a couple. I've seen a couple of questions come through about the master's degree scholarship as well. So I'll go ahead and answer those and let you know that we are currently paused on our master's degree scholarship application acceptance because we have maximized the funding that we have available to award those scholarships. If we do identify additional funding yet this year to be able to increase that number, then we will, of course, make that information public. And I just usually encourage folks to kind of check our Facebook. If you like the Teacher Michigan AEYC or follow our Facebook page. That's where you'll have the most up-to-date information about when and if that becomes available.
Thank you, Kelsey. I'm going to skip over some of those that address the master's program then.
There's a question right here too about pursuing a degree outside of Michigan using a TEACH scholarship, and our TEACH funds are available to support in-state or tuition at our universities here in Michigan or at our community colleges in Michigan. And so out-of-state universities and colleges are not available for TEACH support.
Thank you for that. There's a question here again for you, Kelsey. Is there a competitive selection process for the TEACH scholarship with the limited availability, or is anyone eligible?
Sure, we are awarded our annual allocation and instructed with a prioritization level that is dictated by our Michigan legislature. And so our current scope of work for this year indicates that star rated programs, so those working in programs that are star rated and Great Start to Quality, do receive priority over those that are not working in star rated programs. However, at this point in our year and our funding allocation, we are able to accept all that meet our eligibility requirements. Should we see a reduction in funding or an increase in credit hours taken by our existing scholarship base, then we would look to those prioritization levels and look at eligibility that way. But currently, if you meet our regular TEACH eligibility, which is earning $19.60 or less per hour and working at least 20 hours per week in a licensed child care program, then you would be awarded a scholarship.
This individual wants to know, Kelsey, if they don't qualify for Reconnect, could they still qualify for TEACH if they get their bachelor's in an unrelated, or if they already have their bachelor's in an unrelated field, but are looking to get their CDA or associates in child development?
Okay, so I don't see the question, but I'm going to try to follow that the individual has a bachelor's degree in an unrelated field and would like to utilize TEACH to pursue a CDA or an associate's or additional bachelor's degree. And so if I interpreted that correctly, then the answer is yes. If it's in an unrelated field, then TEACH can cover an additional bachelor's degree in early childhood education, and of course a CDA or assessment or associate's degree as well.
Lots of questions here about masters. Here's a question for Ava. Do you have to live in the same county as the college?
That's a great question. So the college themselves will have the definition for what they consider to be in district. Many times it will depend on the county you live in if you pay a millage to that community college. But some of the colleges have some flexibility there. So I know, for instance, in Washtenaw, for Washtenaw Community College, if you work in the Washtenaw County, that could be also considered in district. So it really will just depend on the school that you're interested in applying to. And I mentioned earlier, if you go to our website on the list of colleges page, all the 31 institutions that receive Michigan Reconnect are there. There's some information about who they consider to be in district. And then also there's contact information there as well if you want to reach out to the school just to confirm your understanding of whether they consider you to be in district or out of district.
Kelsey, this question is for you. For the T.E.A.C.H scholarship, do you have to remain employed with your current employer, or can you change employers as long as it's still within early childhood education?
That's a great question. So our traditional scholarship model that an employer, a recipient, and T.E.A.C.H all contribute to the portion of tuition indicates that yes, the scholarship recipient will have an additional 1-year commitment to remain employed at their sponsoring employers as long at 1 year after their final contract. So our contract year is 3 semesters. So at the completion of those 3 semesters, we award a bonus. The employer awards a raise or bonus, and the employee is required to continue working there for an additional year. The CDA assessment scholarship is a bit different in that if the employer covers a portion, the recipient has an obligation to remain employed there for 6 months. But if the recipient pays the remaining portion on their own and there is no employer contribution, then they have a commitment to the field, not their employer.
Kelsey, this question's also for you. If I already work in a school, does that count for any credits or life credit?
So some community colleges do offer experiential credit. And that's really a conversation that you just have to have with the early childhood advisor at each college to provide information about what you have for experience, hours of experience, or different volunteer experiences that you might have, and see if that school awards any experiential credits. But it does vary from college to college.
Thank you. And this one I think can be answered by both Kelsey and Ava. This individual is wondering if T.E.A.C.H will cover more than 6 credits a semester.
Yeah, so that's a good question. And typically our scholarship contract is for a maximum of 6 credit hours per semester. But by stacking T.E.A.C.H with Michigan Reconnect, we're allowing Michigan Reconnect to cover the bulk of that tuition, and then T.E.A.C.H will pick up any additional fees. So with Michigan Reconnect and T.E.A.C H stacked, you can take more than 6 credit hours on T.E.A.C H and still receive assistance from both scholarships. Without the Michigan Reconnect stacking, then 6 credit hours is the maximum that T.E.A.C H would cover each semester as a single scholarship. And Ava, feel free to include any additional information you want about that.
No, that's great. Thanks, Kelsey.
Someone wants to know what the maximum yearly income for T.E.A.C H eligibility is.
Sure, I should know that. We just actually raised our income eligibility. And so I'm going to just ensure that I don't say the wrong information. But our hourly wage eligibility is $19.60 per hour. And so I can calculate that into an annual income, but we can do the math here. Okay, so the annual income would be $39,520 per year.
Thank you for doing that quick math on the spot.
Oh gosh, and I did the math wrong. Oh, how embarrassing.
Oh no.
Let me tell you that one more time. So we base it on 40 hours per week. And so the answer is actually $40,768 per year, or $19.60 per hour.
Thank you for that clarification. Maybe you can talk about for Reconnect, the question is, is this available to people who are under 25, or do I need to wait? For Reconnect, yes, if you are under the age of 25, you would not become eligible until you are 25. But Kelsey, can you talk about that from the TEACH perspective?
Sure. From the TEACH perspective, we only require that you're 18 or over in order to qualify for TEACH scholarship assistance. So you could always apply for a TEACH scholarship, and then when you're 25, go ahead and apply for Michigan Reconnect to stack.
Someone would like to just know where they start and where to apply first.
I can try to tackle that. So it's really for like the TEACH scholarship on the associate's degree, you can complete your TEACH application before or after you apply for your, or you apply to the college that you're interested in attending. You can apply for TEACH at any time. So if you're interested in starting classes in, winter semester, you can apply now. You can apply in winter if you want to start in summer. We do require that you submit a FAFSA application. So you do have to apply for financial aid in order to apply for TEACH, which is also a requirement for Michigan Reconnect. So I think, kind of an order of applying might be, applying for FAFSA first, knowing that you have to do that for both programs. Maybe applying for at the college you're interested in attending, so you know which college you're going to be indicating on your FAFSA, and then applying for Michigan Reconnect and TEACH simultaneously. Ava, if there's a piece that I'm not thinking of in which they would have to apply for one or the other first, please let me know.
No, that's great, Kelsey. I mean, that's absolutely right. I mean, we follow a similar line of path in terms of, applying for the scholarship, applying to the college, and submitting the FAFSA. Michigan Reconnect doesn't, there's no deadline to apply, but very similar to what Kelsey mentioned, if you're interested in the winter or summer semesters, you'll want to think about applying now if you haven't already, and so on and so forth. I think also it will just depend on your particular needs. Michigan Reconnect is for individuals who are 25 or older and only covers Pell eligible associate degrees or skill certificates at any of Michigan's public community colleges or tribal colleges. And I know TEACH has some flexibility there for other schools and other programs as well. So a degree program. So I think they also are flexible in terms of age. So I think it will just depend in some scenarios on your own personal needs.
Thank you both for that. Kelsey, there's a couple of questions in here about star rated programs and wanting to know what those are and how do they know if they're star rated.
Great question. The star rating is our Michigan quality rating improvement system for child care programs across the state. And so what participating in it's called Great Start to Quality. So if you're a child care provider, you may be familiar with that language. Programs that engage with Great Start to Quality in the star rating process go through a self-assessment and work with consultants at their resource center in order to obtain their star rating. And in Michigan, the star rating system goes from not rated up to 5-star, being the highest indicator of quality of childcare programs in Michigan. You can find out if your individual program is participating in Great Start to Quality by just visiting greatstarttoquality.org and click on Find a Childcare Program. You can type in your program name and it will pull up. If you are star rated, it will have some filled in stars with your rating. And if you're not, it would just have an empty star icon there. Our office at T.E.A.C.H can always help you find that information as well. And we can connect you with your resource center if you are interested in participating in that process to obtain your star rating. I should also mention that for T.E.A.C.H, as long as you are participating in star rating, meaning you've gone through the assessment process, you'll be awarded the star rating stipend, regardless of what your actual rating is. So even if you're a 1-star program or a 5-star program, you'll still earn the $150 star rating stipend each semester.
Thank you for that, Kelsey. A couple of folks have asked, do either of these programs offer assistance with getting jobs in early childhood education?
So for T.E.A.C.H eligibility, you have to already be employed at a licensed childcare program. If you are looking for a job in early childhood education, our Michigan AEYC website has a early childhood jobs postings that feature open positions across the state. And then I would probably encourage you to check with community college job boards or contact our office. We do get contacted on a daily basis from programs that are hiring childcare providers. So we're always happy to be that go-between to help providers find locations to be employed. I just saw a question come through that says what job site posts. So on Michigan, miaeyc.org, at the bottom of our website, there's a job postings area. So you can click on that and see what's available statewide.
Erica, I had a question for you and I just lost it, but I'm going to try and recap. This individual is hosting a Bible school, it sounds like, and they wouldn't qualify as a camp, and that they need to get some type of license. What would they need to do to obtain that license?
I'm sorry, it took me a minute to unmute. I guess there's a lot of questions, and to know where to start, I think we would want to talk to that person more specifically to find out more information about the center that they're going to have and the programs that they're going to run. What I can do is put in the chat, I can put our website for our bureau and then also a phone number for our bureau, and they can call that number and we can connect them to either one of the area managers, or we can connect them to a consultant so they can talk more personally and one-on-one with a consultant and get those answers questioned or get the questions answered. I'm sorry. So I'll put those into the chat right now.
Here's a quick question for you, Ava. Is the Futures of Frontliners program under Michigan Reconnect?
Great question. So the Futures for Frontliners program is a separate scholarship program, also under our office of 60 by 30, but is very, very similar to Michigan Reconnect. It was actually launched last year after the state shutdown in 2020, in the spring of 2020. Geared towards Michigan's frontline workers. It's a one-time program, and the application ran from September to December of last year. So it is a separate program, and if you were not able to apply in time, if you're 25 or older, Michigan Reconnect offers nearly the same, all the same benefits and opportunities as Futures for Frontliners does. I'm also happy to answer those questions separately, and I can share my email at the end if folks have questions about either Futures for Frontliners or Michigan Reconnect.
I believe we exhausted most of the questions that I've seen in the Q&A. So if Ava, if you want to wrap up, or if Kelsey, if you have anything else that you wanted to touch on.
I did just notice one question about the teach income eligibility. So I wanted to clarify that about the income eligibility being for teach only. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Ava, but there is no income eligibility requirement for Michigan Reconnect.
That's correct. There is none for Michigan Reconnect.
And then our eligibility for teach is for individual income. And so this is not household income eligibility.
Actually, here's one more question that I saw. If you're already pursuing another degree and you already have a FAFSA on file, are you still eligible for Michigan Reconnect?
Could you repeat the question? Sorry, Kamara.
Sure. If I'm already pursuing another degree and I already have a FAFSA on file, am I eligible for Reconnect?
Yeah, so if you're currently enrolled in a program, as long as you meet the criteria to qualify for Michigan Reconnect, you can absolutely use the scholarship towards future semesters. So it won't be able to be applied to past semesters, but moving forward, you can utilize it towards your associate degree program or skill certificate program at any of our eligible institutions.
Quick question for you, Kelsey. Can I apply for Teach if I also have Reconnect?
Yes, absolutely. You don't have to apply for one before the other. If you're already on Michigan Reconnect, you can submit a Teach application, or if you're already on Teach, you can certainly apply for Michigan Reconnect.
Thank you, Kelsey. That's all I have. So Ava, if you want to go ahead and close.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here today. I know there might be still some questions that come up for you now or later. Please note that in the chat, Erica, Kelsey, and I are putting in email contacts. So if you have questions for us about the programs, we'd be happy to help answer them for you. Really appreciate everyone being here today. Thanks so much.